From 7 News, this is a Call 7 Investigators special presentation.
He didn't have to die like an animal.
I mean, that's torture. That's what he was. He was tortured to death.
I think they killed my son. It didn't have to happen that way.
He says, I'm not going to give these people any more of my life or time. And at that time, I didn't understand directly what he meant.
The last person that I would have thought that would have committed suicide would be Ed Benji.
This is a very thorough investigation to find out what's wrong and who's responsible, and does that rise to the level of some criminal culpability.
Public scrutiny, I think, has helped us look at where do we have voids, and one hand doesn't know what the other hand is doing.
Do these people not share information? Stupid question. Obviously not, or my son would be alive.
For almost 2 years, we have been investigating the Colorado Mental Health Institute at Pueblo and have continued to uncover deadly mistakes and needless deaths. Hello, I'm John Ferrugia. Our ongoing investigation has now prompted the Colorado Department of Human Services, the agency responsible for the state hospital, to conduct an outside third-party review of the facility where the deaths have occurred. The results are stunning. And questions raised in our reports have also prompted a grand jury investigation to determine whether there should be criminal charges in any of the deaths. Now, a disturbing look at what is happening in this high-tech, high-security unit hidden from public view. Fatal errors, deaths at the state hospital.
They were knowingly using a procedure that they knew killed people.
Linda Stevens and Rex Geske are the parents of 41-year-old Troy Geske. He died after he was tied face down, his arms at his sides, in an isolated room at the high-security forensic unit at the Pueblo State Hospital in what is known as a prone restraint.
It's almost like murder.
He was a schizophrenic who had been in and out of the institution for years, originally placed there after burglary charges and sex offenses. But he had recently been doing well on his medication in community placement. We contacted Geske's parents after his death and helped them obtain his medical records, including this narrative of a medical examiner who saw a surveillance video of the entire episode.
So he smothered it.
The doctor noted in detail how 4 individuals held him down at various times, restraining his legs at the ankle, and a belt was fastened over his mid-back. His arms were bound at his sides and secured at the wrists, which prevented him from supporting his weight using his arms or legs.
It changes your whole balance of your system and collapses lungs. And this hospital doesn't know that? There's no training?
The medical examiner timed the event, beginning at the point Troy Geske was put in prone restraint. He was face down, struggling for 5 minutes before the straps were secured. Then he was left in the room alone. The notes show he was moving his head from side to side. All the while, he was observed through the door window by various witnesses. After almost 4 minutes, Troy Geske stopped moving. The report notes that about a minute later, the staff entered the room and he was unresponsive. He had been held face down for at least 10 minutes. But because the staff could not get the straps off his limp body, it took 3 minutes more before they could turn him over. By then, it was too late.
You know, they don't even do that to an animal. A zoo wouldn't allow it. I don't understand.
The medical examiner noted that because Troy Geske was overweight, the prone restraint interfered with the normal bellows function of the chest cavity, restricting his ability to breathe.
They killed him. Did they know what they were doing?
That is unclear, but within 24 hours after Troy Geske's death, the hospital director suspended all patient-prone restraint. But that was little consolation to his parents.
Now we don't restrain. So it's like we're one death off. And it just happened to be our boy that changed maybe some rules. And it's just hard to take.
I think it should be outlawed. It shouldn't be used. Not only in the state of Colorado, in the states that are allowing it now, across the board.
But what Linda and Rex didn't know, and our investigation has uncovered, is that some divisions of the Colorado Department of Human Services had long ago banned the prone restraint. And as unbelievable as it might sound, we found that even the director of the agency didn't know it. Coming up, why Troy Geske should not have died.
Matthew loved to go to Disneyland, and my wife and I took him to Disneyland every Christmas. This is a picture of him trying on the Mad Hatter's hat.
Dick Markley did his best to bring his mentally disabled son Matthew as much happiness as possible.
Matthew had Down syndrome, and it was fairly severe. Had an IQ that was down right around 30.
His care included a Jefferson County program for the developmentally disabled, where 38-year-old Matthew could interact with peers and staff while focusing on useful and simple tasks, helping himself and the community.
One day a week he would go to the Red Cross and completely clean and put together the dummies that they use for resuscitation training.
While he was generally happy and cooperative, there were times when Matthew Markley became frustrated and angry.
He would just go berserk, is the only thing I can describe it as.
It was during one of these episodes in 2004 that he was taken down by staff members and forced into a face-down prone restraint.
When they put him in a prone position, he did not get over it quickly like he did when I would put him down on his back, but rather continued to fight and fume. And it happened that he just all of a sudden went white and quit breathing, and his heart stopped. They kept him alive long enough for me to make it home from a trip, and we let him go.
But Dick Markley did not blame the program staff and believed his son's death was not in vain because
the Department of Human Services banned the prone position.
Because of this case?
Because of this case and another one, they said.
Why? Why did this have to happen again? Why?
After months of digging, our investigation found that other case. It involved 19-year-old Ryan Ramos, who was a patient at the Grand Junction State Regional Center for the Developmentally Disabled.
He was kind of an aggressive child.
His parents, Robin and Dee Ramos, say in September of 2004, Ryan became angry and upset after dinner at the facility.
He struck out. As he struck out, they took him and they turned him and they put him on the ground.
He was on his chest?
Yes, he was on his chest and stomach.
In a prone restraint?
Correct.
Okay.
And he aspirated. He aspirated. He had just had dinner.
As the autopsy said, there was a piece of chicken lodged on his throat in a position to where it blocked the airway.
So he choked to death?
So he choked to death.
After the State Department of Human Services conducted an investigation into Ryan's death, the family was contacted about the further use of prone restraint.
We learned that they were not supposed to do this procedure anymore.
That's what they told you?
That's what they told us then thereafter.
In fact, our investigation has found that the deaths of Ryan Ramos and Matthew Markley did prompt the director of the Developmental Disabilities Division in the Colorado Department of Human Services to ban the practice. We uncovered this CDHS memo from October 2004, noting that the department has become aware of 2 deaths of persons receiving services that have been involved in the use of prone physical restraints. This memo calls for the immediate cessation of the use of physical restraint of a person in the prone, on his or her stomach, position. The memo also notes that prone restraint may contribute to increased risk of injury or death.
If you're having deaths due to this, you would think that there would be a widely broadcast message throughout the human services programs so that everybody would be looking at banning it.
What's more, Dick Markley is a member of the Colorado Medical Services Board. It makes the rules for youth residential mental health treatment centers.
And it came before us at the Medical Services Board relative to mental health homes, and it was banned there through a rule that we adopted in 2006.
That was apparently in part because of yet a third death. In 2003, a 15-year-old girl died in a now closed Colorado Springs psychiatric treatment program. We obtained a coroner's report showing she died of sudden cardiovascular collapse during restraint. She was face down for more than 10 minutes.
If it applies to one psychiatric facility, it ought to apply to the others.
But our investigation found it didn't. The dire warning in this memo, prompted by the deaths of Matthew Markley and Ryan Ramos, concluded that prone restraint has been implicated in sudden death and positional asphyxiation. And 6 years later, that is exactly what Troy Geske death certificate notes as his cause of death.
This was in 2004.
The family didn't know about the earlier deaths until we showed them the memo.
And if these happened, why in the hell was it still used in 2010 for my son? They knew what it caused. It killed 3 people. They knowingly used it and killed my son with it.
Did you know that your own department had said
this can cause physical injury or death, and we're stopping it in this one area.
No, I did not know that happened in 2004, and I wish in 2004 that had been stopped throughout the department.
Should it have?
Yes, I believe it should have.
Karen Bai is director of the Colorado Department of Human Services. You never knew that it was used?
We never discussed it. I mean, I didn't ask, and we had never had the discussion.
She took the job in 2007, and until the Geske death and our investigation, she says she was unaware of the issues surrounding prone restraint. But now,
we immediately said cease and desist. We are now putting in policies throughout the 24/7 saying prone restraint is not a restraint that you can use in a DD facility or a mental health facility or any of the others.
Do these people not share information? Stupid question. Obviously not, or my son would be alive.
can you understand their feeling that their sons died in vain?
Absolutely, I can. When their family member is in the care of a state agency and they die for any reason when they shouldn't have, absolutely I can understand those feelings.
Has anyone from the state hospital called you and said, here's what happened, we want to meet with you?
No.
No.
We want to explain to you?
No.
We're sorry?
No.
No.
For Rex and Linda, the issue is now accountability. They are driven to get answers.
Do you think they're hiding something from you?
Oh, of course they are. They think he'll tire, we'll tire.
And go away.
But it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
Troy Geske's death is one of 3 in the high-security forensic unit at the Pueblo State Hospital in the past 18 months. The others were suicides. Coming up, our investigation has uncovered incompetence, lack of supervision, monitoring, and training that contributed to their deaths.